Hello everyone and welcome to a review. Today we're going to be covering an episode of one of the most beloved and most popular sitcoms, The Simpsons. This is Season 1, Episode 1, Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire. So let's get into it. Plot summary. Whilst the Simpsons are Christmas shopping, Bart decides to get a tattoo as a Christmas present for Marge and Homer. Marge soon discovers what he has done and is forced to use the Christmas savings to have it removed. Meanwhile, Homer finds out he will not receive his Christmas bonus from Mr. Burns, meaning the Simpsons have no money for presents. Homer decides to keep their financial troubles a secret and get a job as a mall Santa, and then he later discovers the job doesn't pay well, and desperate for a miracle, Homer and Bart go to the dog track on Christmas Eve in hopes of earning some money. He bets it all on a long shot named Santa's Little Helper, who would become a reoccurring member of The Simpsons, who loses. His owner becomes angry at the dog and then disowns him, however. Homer lets Bart keep him. Later, Homer comes clean about their financial troubles, but Bart exclaims that they've brought home a new dog for the family, and the family are excited for the newest edition of the Simpsons family. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into the negatives of this episode. So some characters sound different in this episode compared to how they would later sound on the show. Homer's voice is a lot deeper rather than what tone it would later become. Ralph's voice is completely different. Ned's voice sounds a little deeper than his usual voice, and Abe's voice is also different as well. The reason these are included is because I find it very distracting, and yeah, these things very much break my immersion. Also, the voices for the Little Elf show the family is watching is clearly just the Bart voice, but Bart as if he was speaking holding his nose. I definitely would expect better of Nancy Cartwright because we know how talented she is as a voice actress, so it makes you think why out of all the voices she could have done, why did she do this one? Yeah, once again this just breaks my immersion because it makes me think, oh well, that's clearly Nancy Cartwright doing a Bart Simpson-like voice for this elf rather than just, oh, this is what this elf sounds like. So yeah, it's, again, distracting. The animation for this one is really jagged and rough around the edges. The facial animations, the design of the cars in the parking lot of the mall, for example, and beloved side characters such as Bernie and Moe are completely off too. The Simpsons car design is poorly drawn too and looks different from the iconic design. Same with the steps, parallel to the front of the door of the Simpsons house. The kid on Homer's lap and the Santa Claus school teacher look really cartoony and just unrealistic as well. The tone in this episode is a bit too serious and grounded. It doesn't really have enough jokes for me. I really like the narrative, but I think it needs a good strong set of jokes to keep the nature of the show banded together. But yeah, I don't think it really achieves that. And when there are jokes, they are very hit and miss compared to some other episodes, even some from this very exact season. The pacing of the episode is very much all over the place too. It jumps too much for my liking. From 10 to 15 minutes 17 seconds, we visit 10 locations, which is absolutely insane. It of course keeps focus on the narrative, which saves the episode from completely getting lost, but it feels disorientating to say the least. I could understand Simpsons was still trying to find its footing. You could even go as far as to say it was in its embryo stages, really, considering obviously what featured in this episode and just pretty much the entirety of season 1, and then what would let us stick in terms of changes until present day, 35 plus years later. Like the cartoony drawings, like the looks at the time of the episode for established characters, and of course the voices of those characters too. And despite the changes in the characteristics of certain characters, and obviously how the animation just improved with the illustrations being a lot better and more meticulous, I still don't want to let off this episode for what it is. Unfortunately, these core aspects are going to hold the episode back because they are vital. Because in terms of those characteristics of those characters, it breaks the establishment of the show, and I want to talk about that, and I want to say that's a negative for me personally because it's going against what I'm used to. Therefore, it sticks out like a sore thumb, and I'm just going to be honest about that. Same with the illustration quality or the animation quality or whatever it may be there. Simpsons definitely improved that stuff quickly, but again, I just want to review this episode for what it is, and yeah, that stuff's just not up to par for what it did after. As for the Little Elves having the same voice as Bart, I don't need a time machine to say why distinguished characters should sound like each other, because they shouldn't. It takes away from the realism of the show. Also, it definitely interferes with the memorability and the branding of the character of Bart. A character with a distinct character voice is a stronger character identity, simple as that. And above all else, it just helps the clarity for the audience, right? Yeah, to be honest, I don't know how this was accepted. Okay, so now let's get into the positives. The episode really sets up the traits of the characters very well. Bart being mischievous with him getting the tattoo, foul-mouthed and having a love-hate relationship with Homer. Homer being a lovable oaf who loves his family deeply, but is as dumb as a pile of bricks. Although I will say, him being ashamed of himself while taking Bart to the tracks is a little too normal for Homer. Lisa showing that she's perceptive and intelligent at just such a young age. Marge's loving cherishment of Homer's ability as a father. Mr. Burns being a cold villain. The fun is his perfect family, and a lot more. Yeah, from the very first episode, You know all the attributes of the characters. Yep, that's great quality writing. That's what you should do. I said the jokes were hit and miss, but it had some jokes that were quintessentially The Simpsons in every single way possible. For example, Homer, when he is Santa, saying to Bart, "What's your name, Bartner?" Her little partner is classic Simpsons and classic Homer. That one got a big laugh out of me. Also, when Barney comes into Moore's Tavern, dressed as Santa, and Homer asks him what's with the outfit, and he replies he's got a job down at the mall as a Santa. And then Homer asks, can he do it? And then Bernie says that he doesn't know because they're pretty selective, and then he burps afterwards. That was really funny too. It sets up the dynamics really well too. Homer's turbulent Ned Flanders relationship, Homer's hatred of Patty and Selma, Patty and Selma's horrible treatment of Homer, Homer and Bart's up and down relationship, Homer's love for the family, etc. The story really tugs at your heartstrings as well in this one. You really feel for Homer when he's going at all these great lengths to make it a good Christmas for his family, and at the moment he is going to lay out the truth when Bart interrupts him by informing the family of a new dog, which makes the family happy. You really get a sense of the family's values. It's not loads of presents, but it's a present that expands the one thing they regard the most, family. The episode also introduces long-running themes of the show too. Of course, Santa's little helper, who would be the Simpsons' dog to this day and inserted within the canon now. Homer struggling with jobs and searching for jobs. And then, of course, Bart causing chaos, amongst many others as well. I do think Dan Castellaneta's acting for Homer, just the way he dives into this role, is absolutely stupendous. He does really well at balancing those emotional hurdles and just giving everything to what the character demands. When he's delivering the end speech just before Bart cuts him off, how upset and disappointed Homer is with how the events have gone down. He really doesn't want to disappoint the family, and yeah, Dan Castellaneta does a great job there. I think the plot point with Bart getting a tattoo was really good as well, and the way he naively sees it as a sweet gift for Marge, which, much like Homer, there's intentions from Bart in this case, obviously with the tattoo, where he has good intentions, but his good intentions are misguided. Yeah, this was a really good display of that part of Bart. And yeah, it was a good way to set up The Simpsons losing that money for the presents as well. In conclusion, this episode isn't bad. It builds the foundation of what the show would become and to be known for, with its characters, its relationships, the family's camaraderie, even its humour in some places, with what little lands of it. I think if the humour was a little sharper and tightened, you could have the making of a classic episode, although I will say it's quite difficult to look past the negatives of this one, which I think, regardless if the comedy was better, it would still hold it back to a degree. But I think I would give this one a 5.5 out of 10 for what it is. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the review, and I'll see you later.